Okay, with the filmmaking team, My Block, My Hero, part of the Your Everyday Heroes series with Albert again. Albert has been with us a couple more times speaking of other films, and then Gina D'Onofrio is the director of this particular film about a gentleman who basically who's the founder of a nonprofit based in Chicago, a nonprofit mission based in Chicago, which is sort of the theme of your Everyday Heroes series, where you go around the world and you kind of have interview subjects and making films about individuals who do amazing things in individual communities. Correct?
Yeah, that puts it up in a nutshell. My Black My Hero is about Jamal Cole, and his work with nonprofits. But um, it's nice to meet you or see you again, Matthew. To Gina D'Onofrio is was the director of it. She was able to get a hold of Jamal Cole and schedule some time with him, interview him, and then we got to follow him around to places like the Shed, which is featured heavily in the film as well. Um, but I know that you don't really want to talk to me, so I'll let you, Gina, talk about this because
Okay.
she's really the brains behind this one. I just said yes. That's all I did.
So Gina, let's talk about this film. The guy's a great subject to have. So when did you first meet your subject, Jamal?
I mean, we had a conversation prior to filming. The way I
So
was,
you basically like learned about his nonprofit, and then you kind of like studied him, and then so you didn't meet him until you started making the film.
so he's actually, fairly well known in Chicago. He's received a lot of awards. He was named Chicago in the Year at one point. He's, I think it was like, I can't remember if it was Cranes or Forbes, 40 under 40, but he's kind of well known. He's actually been the subject of, I believe, two other featured documentaries. One of them is A Tiny Ripple of Hope. Um, so I was able to kind of really dig in on Jamal prior to meeting him. The way he was, I was alerted to, maybe having the ability to do this was by actually one of our cameramen who had worked with him, I believe, on another podcast, and he was like, "You need to, if you're to feature anybody, you should feature this guy because he's doing amazing work." And the more I dug in, I was like, "God, he's amazing!" And um, when I went to interview him, I will say that I was about to become an acolyte. if 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 Jamal Cole was a cult leader, I probably would have joined because he's just an incredible speaker and has such an amazing message. Oh, those dogs! Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, just the work he's doing with like under-resourced kids, just to dedicate your life to serving the community and the next generation and trying to make their lives better, when they're coming from a place that is just probably like some of the worst areas of Chicago.
Mhm.
Um, there is, these kids are growing up in a whole lot of gun violence. Um, for many years running, Chicago was the murder capital of the world. Um, and which is like shocking to me because like we're in the United States. It's definitely the murder capital of the United States, but there's a point that it was like the murder capital of the world. Um, and while some gun violence has gone down, it dropped slightly from like 2023 to 2024. I was just looking at statistics, but even in 2024, there were about 2,800 shooting victims, um, which is wild. And that's, according to Jamal, that's just the ones that are reported. Like he's
Yeah.
always shocked by statistics.
Yeah.
Uh, so these kids are growing up in a not great environment where there's just like glass, bulletproof glass on all the windows of the restaurants they go to, and
Yeah.
the growing up in neighborhoods with like the businesses are boarded up and have, um, you know, those metal cages, and
Mhm.
it's just like I think really different than um, like broader America. So for him to like take these kids and um, teach them that there is a world outside of like their block, and these are all the things they can do with their lives. Uh, it was we just had to film him. We just had to
Yeah.
film him.
So on his shirt, every shirt that he seems to wear in the film, at least, my block, my hood, my city, which is sort of his mantra, the his organization's mantra. And you basically like, he is very well spoken. Let's put it this way. If he wants to be a politician, it might be his future. I don't know if that's something you've talked about, but
Well, he actually ran
yeah,
for Congress, I believe in like 2021,
yeah.
um, and he lost, but I think
He
if
lost the primary, right? Like,
he lost the Democratic primary.
yeah, well, because he's not well funded, right? So you got to start state. Even Obama in Chicago, you got to start as in the state, and then you can get the state, and then you can move on to into the Congress. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think maybe he shot too high.
Yeah,
Maybe he needs to run for local office first and
yeah.
like move on up. But yeah, he was actually shot at during that campaign.
Wow.
Um, yeah, he's so when we'd talked to him, which was in 2022. We'd always film this ahead, and this was for season 3 of our docuseries,
Mhm.
which is releasing this year. Uh, so we filmed him in 2022, which I actually think was a mistake. I think we missed too. I think by like doing that, like gapping out like that, we probably have missed too much of what has happened in between. And I would actually love to go back and film him again, and release it much sooner.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was running for Congress. He got shot at 4 times in that year, which he doesn't necessarily think was tied to anything about his run, just like random gun violence. And in the film, he talks about being actually like he was hit once, and it was the first time he's actually been shot and been hit, and um, kind of like the really demeaning experience of going to the hospital. And he said he felt like a dissected frog as all these very streamlined ER doctors, worked for him.
So
So
okay, so then you
go ahead.
talk to me about like, 'cause I'm assuming you spent it like, how many hours did you spend with him for the main interview? Because he got a lot out, like, and you showed a lot. So I'm sure you have a lot on the cutting room floor. But tell
We
me
no,
about
we
that.
started this with we started it with the idea of making him a hero, right? One
Yeah,
10-minute piece, and that's it. And then Gina comes back to me being like, "We have so much more than just a 10-minute piece."
yeah,
So we were like, "Okay, what do we do?" So we made this documentary, but we also cut it into three separate 10-minute pieces to release on our site to go forward. So that's four, and then we also have all the other fun stuff that we did, which is like the clips and the interviews and all the
so you have a feature if you want, in a sense.
like we had way too much of him to just leave it off on the floor, so we made it three 10-minute pieces, the documentary, and a couple more things to come out. And it was I'm talking for Gina here because she did all of this, but I was like, yes, all of it, everything you need. Like, absolutely, this guy is amazing, and I love everything that he stands for. And I could sit there and listen to him talk for hours, even though I just get to watch the video. I don't get to sit in the room and do
Yeah.
the interviewing. But as we were looking at it, I was like, we have so much more than just a 10-minute piece here, so much.
Mhm.
And so we're actually dedicating a lot more time to Jahmal Cole than we would say any of the other hero stories. But not to take away from any of those, but he's just getting multiple releases
Is
throughout
he
the.
gonna run again? Because that's a great. You should go back and follow him when you like talk about your everyday heroes, like someone running for a good cause, right? So
Yeah, Gina, I hope you have that conversation with him because
yeah,
it would be so amazing if he like ran right after we released it, right? Like it would
yeah,
That would be
I am
something.
I'm unaware. I know he knows a lot of people. Like he's legitimately like gone to like basketball games with like Obama. Like this like
Yeah, he
he
if Obama endorses them, I think he's got a good chance. Go ahead. Yeah,
I yeah, I think it could happen. I agree. Maybe he needs to run for some local office first. I don't know if that's
yeah,
his focus. I mean, they're really expanding my Black My Hood, My City. Like they're
yeah,
I think we spoke to them. We're in at a point where they had just probably graduated from like really, really grassroots
yeah.
to a larger much larger base. And think this is so I think 2020 was like really pivotal for the organization. And as you were talking about that hoodie that he's wearing, so you will always see him wearing branded "My Black, My Hood, My City" hoodies if it's cold enough, or t-shirts or whatever. You'll never not see him with that on, and that's because he's a marketing genius. Um, like the way he grew the nonprofit is through social media, and they really like around that like George Floyd era. um they I mean they just raised a lot of money off social media posts to really expand. I'm not going to say the exact number, but I was shocked. And at that point, that's when he started getting like the national attention. And I think he did like GMA and kind of like did the morning circuit. And he's just really, really good at promoting the cause. And now they're focusing on expanding the project into, outside of Chicago. So they're looking to establish in LA and I think Atlanta and, somewhere in Michigan, probably Detroit. So I don't know if running's on the horizon for him, but I think I met him at a point where he was just kind of taking a step back from the day to day with the kids
Mhm.
to really focusing on growing the organization. Because we went to their building. He has there's just there's all the staff and these volunteers, and I mean everybody is just so equally committed. They were all really amazing when we were there. So sorry, you're about to ask me something.
No, I know it's sort of like in terms of like he just to finish off the running is that he's like well, I think it's the first district of Illinois, right? So it's going to be a Democrat who wins that riding, right? The way things are. So basically, he's got to win the primary against somebody who's been in Congress for a long time, right? I think Jonathan Jackson. So
Yeah, I
basically,
believe that's like Jesse
yeah, the guy's been
Jackson's
around, so it's almost
son.
impossible, like not impossible, but it's very, very difficult to beat somebody in a primary who's been in Congress for a long time. It's almost rigged in a sense. So like, but new blood, well, OAC did it, right? So she did it, she won the primary, came out of nowhere. It's happened before, right? So basically, and he definitely, if he, he definitely has the speaking ability and the background to win, right? So
Yeah, just such an amazing speaker.
yeah.
He's really like, politician level speaker is is what it comes down to. So yeah, I'm sure he could if he wanted to. Again, I don't know if it's a focus, and I can't really speak for
Yeah,
him.
of
We're not,
course. Well, I was saying
but
for you guys being self-interest is that it'd be great if he does run again, you guys can follow him and make a film about it, right? So yeah,
oh yeah, that would
yeah,
be I already want to do a follow-up. Just because like I said, this kind of like gap in between filming, um they've just done so much with the organization that I want to go back and shoot.
yeah,
And again, like he was just so captivating when I was speaking to him. I mean, well, I probably sat with him for 4 hours, and just listened to his life story. Which I mean, he's just so accomplished, and I mean, this guy was like, gonna go play professional basketball, and then and just as like a walk on the team, had never even like played in high school on a regular team. This is just like from playing pickup, like
yeah,
at the like local courts. And he walk on and was able to play, and just I guess ended up getting the league. I think he played like in Europe a little bit professional. um he self-published 5 books. Um, he just, God, like the list goes on and on, of how accomplished like this guy as such a young guy is. Really, really amazing. So yeah, I could listen to him for speak for hours.
All right, so let's talk about his nonprofit because it's pretty amazing what he's doing for this community. And you kind of you interviewed a couple of the students or a couple of people that were part of it, and then you kind of got some you had some like stock footage of what they did and like the science lab, and then there's going to the museum, and then you have like them tobogganing. Sorry, that's a Canadian term, them sledding. Um, and so you got some very some really cool insights with this like kind of I don't want to call them surrogates, but basically the people kind of endorsing his brilliance, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So the what we actually were able to go shoot is like, the B-roll was an exploration. So what they do is they take uh these groups of teenagers from high schools in underserved communities across Chicago out to on what they call explorations uh to basically to expand their knowledge about what's out in the world,
Yeah,
and what careers there are for them out there because I mean everybody kind of knows the basics, right? Like you can be a doctor, a lawyer, professional athlete kind of thing, and it really there's just such a wider career opportunities out there that nobody really knows about. So we went to the Shedd Aquarium, which was so cool to take them behind. I mean, I I don't know if I'm just jaded about children in general, or teenagers, and maybe like all the like you see them on social media and whatever. So it's a new generation. I think like the older you get, the more cynical you are about the younger generations, and so I was kind of really expecting them to be totally unengaged and on their phones, and just like kids on a field trip, like a forced field trip.
yeah,
And it was the absolute opposite. I've never met kids that were so engaged and so interested in what they were learning about. Um, and we got to take that. I mean, obviously, like you've got the aquarium as a backdrop, and um, being from Chicago, like I really hold the Shedd Aquarium in such high esteem because um, from a you know from elementary school, like that's where we're going on the field trips, right? Like we were, we can go to all the Chicago museums, but when we got to go to the Shedd, that was probably the coolest one. It's otherworldly. Obviously you don't really know what it looks like underwater, and they've
yeah.
got it just on full feature for you. So that alone was super cool, and I think probably for them too. I would assume like that's that's a very Chicago thing to go to the Shedd Aquarium, but then to go behind the scenes,
Yeah.
um, they they're very. I mean, they were amazing. It was a well-oiled machine over there. Let me tell you of how they were. They were very primed to take on this task of educating these kids, and they had a really cool activity for them to do. They took us to their coral propagation area, and they taught the kids how to basically how to build baby coral, and they had them do that, and it was really cool. We got to go above their coral propagation area is like above the shark reef. So they all got to hang out and like see above the shark tanks, which is something I think, as an average person, you're never going to get to do. And then they took him into a classroom, and we had three of their researchers with us, but primarily Bryce Corbett and Shayla Matsuda, just told us all about their experiences, like becoming researchers. And I think it was really impactful for them because they're also people of color, right? So uh, in the film, Chloe Graham, who's one of the program coordinators, she was like, it's so important for them to see people that look like them doing these jobs that they never even knew about. that never even knew were a possibility. So I think the kids really liked it, and I think it's such a so important. In their other explorations, they've I think in the film we see them like go to a glass blower to um, they're doing something in a lab at one point. I mean, they really get exposed to
Yeah.
a lot of jobs that you just really don't think about when you're thinking about what am I going to do when I grow up. So that's very cool.
And they, well, to say the least, they grow up pretty quickly. And to jump on what you're saying about teenagers on their phones, etc., maybe they just don't take this for granted. Like I think that certain cultures, certain areas, like they get so they take all this stuff for granted. I think that going to this aquarium and seeing what they were exposed to, I think they were like overjoyed because it's amazing, right? And they're like, this is special, and they know that.
Yeah, I mean, that must be
Yeah,
that maybe they just really appreciate like what my
yeah,
block has to offer too. Like I think the kids are like really aware of it. It's cool. They're all like kitted out in the my block, my hood, my city hoodies. Um, they're all they they go pick them up at their school. So when they did this, this wasn't like a weekend trip. This was like a Thursday, I think. And so they picked them up like at 2:30 after school and like in their in the my block shuttle, and they brought them over. And so they were just so, I don't know, like they got um educated, they got fed, it was cool. It was a really nice thing that the Shedd brought in some Mexican food from us from we were in the South Side, which is like, I mean, known for it. And so it was one of the things that Jahmal talks about is like these kids are connoisseurs of McDonald's. And when they take them to different places, they're like, oh, this, like they were in Wisconsin and they're like, oh, this McDonald's tastes different. And so they brought in some like really authentic Mexican food, and it was specifically like tamales in there, and the kids were all about it. I mean, they're just trying new things, and
yeah.
um, you know,
Well, one would assume it tastes better than McDonald's, right? So,
What I
mean,
think is it was a good idea was shown through the film was the younger kids in the program were looking up to the older kids in the program. And so since the older kids in that program were enjoying themselves so much, that showed that the little kids didn't have to make fun of it, right? That
yeah,
they could engage with these programs, could engage in that classroom at the glass blowers, at the chef's office,
yeah.
or
It makes
scenario.
them
So
feel less insecure, probably too, right? Less anxiety ridden about the unknown, I guess, in a sense.
yeah, so
Yeah,
the older kids that are in that program enjoying this themselves at these places on the explorations, I think really helped the younger kids in it take full advantage of everything that they're doing. But again, I'm just talking about watching it, right? Like I
yeah.
wasn't there with Gina when she was shooting.
So
so
talk to me about the police officers.
all that are in the film.
Yeah,
So um, they regularly do exploration. They do guided tours. So one of the things that they do, and a way to like help kind of employ these kids too, is they get them to like give tours of their um their blocks or their communities, right? So I think that was in Lawndale. And there's a heavy focus of my block in the Lawndale area. I believe it's like where they started out. So um they just try to like bring people from the outside in to show them that their communities are not um crime ridden and horrible, and that you should come there, and this is where we're from and we're proud of it. um and also I'm not really super clear about why the police were there, other than I think it was just to try to help community relations. Like it's good for um people to interact with police, and hopefully
yeah,
not be afraid of them, and also for police to interact with the youth, and maybe that gives them something to think about when they're out chasing down a criminal. Maybe it'll stop them from um you know maybe it'll make them remember that like these are kids that like a lot of the the criminals that they encounter are young kids from, you know, under-resourced areas, and maybe to make them think twice about how they treat them.
But the optics as well, where like Jahmal is like an advocate of Black Lives Matter. You saw there's footage in the film about him being on those in those kind of situations and basically speaking at the Black Lives Matter kind of places, right? So I just lost a word there. So kind of showing that the nuance of that it's not just like Black Lives Matter, people hate cops, cops are bad and we're good. It's sort of like a nuance. It's like we're just trying to do good for the community, right? It's not about black and white where we hate you and you don't, you know what I mean? It's just about, like you said, the cops are just there. They're there for community awareness. And it's like if they're doing their jobs and Jamal's and his team is doing their jobs, then everybody gets along, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there, you know, there's an element of like everybody needs to coexist there. And and also like I think people really believe policing is just like I said, like chasing criminals, but it's not. There's a huge community
that's most of
element
policing,
to it.
right? Most of
Like
policing is the serve the
yeah,
community, right?
it's
Yeah,
serving. So it's
yeah,
I think it's you know, I think it's very smart of my Black My Hood My City to, you know, kind of involve that and like rope them in because everybody's just gotta to coexist. And I think it,
yeah,
like I said, I think it maybe helps them, it maybe gives the police some perspective and maybe the kids some perspective about the police.
yeah. Like there's lots of bad cops out there. We're not going to deny that. But there's a lot of really good cops out there, right? So
I,
we can't deny that as well, right? So
I don't think anybody gets into it to be a bad cop,
yeah.
right?
Well, I
Um,
don't know about that, but maybe I don't know. Probably, maybe I'm more jaded than you are, but go ahead.
I mean, I would think they would get into it to serve their community and, you know,
Sure,
serve and
hopefully,
protect,
yeah.
right? So I don't think any, you know, I'm sure that there are, you know, right, there's bad apples, but I'm sure if you like take the force as a whole, you know, you're seeing people that are there to
Mm.
protect and serve.
Hopefully, yeah, 100%. Okay, so tell me, okay, so I'm assuming you shot hours upon hours of, oh, by the way, another Canadian nod. I like them. I like the skating, the B-roll skating scene where like none of them know how to skate and they're all trying to skate. I love that.
Oh,
It's
that's
great.
cool.
Yeah.
That's Maggie Daly Park.
It's
They
a
have
metaphor
like,
of them trying things new, right? Even if they're not good at
right.
it. Yeah.
Even, I mean, and you can see it like Jamal's not great at it either.
Yeah.
Um, but they that's another, you know, the primary goal of like my Black My Goal or My Hood My City is to just show them that their neighborhood and there's more to their city than they know, right? And so that's in Maggie Daly Park. It's a really cool, it's, you know, not your standard ice skating rink, like it's a whole it's a path. Like you go through the park. It's probably the coolest ice skating experience I've ever had. So I'm really glad that the kids got to experience that. They and you know, in addition to like all the career stuff, like they take them to do activities like that. They take them rock climbing and just to have experiences. You know, you see in the film that they're in Colorado, I believe, and they're you know, they're tubing, and it's like there's just so much of the world that they don't even know exists. So I like the balance
Yeah.
of like them, you know, learning about things and also like really doing fun activities that they should be able to experience as kids.
Okay, so then, just to wrap things up, that you have all this all this footage, right? And then the real work begins, I guess, with kind of like editing this film, putting it all together, having a streamlined story, kind of getting Jamal's interview interspersing with the kids. Tell me about the editing experience. It must have been pretty daunting.
It was it was rough. That I want to say like in particular, shooting filming at the shed uh is not your standard shoot. So we had to go. We typically like when we do shoot with this particular film crew, we're using a red cam, and that was not going to be available to us in this scenario. So we use Sony's that were I can't remember which ones that we used. Give me 1 second. You know what? Forget it. Um, we use these Sonys because they were Sony FE 2470s.
Hmm.
And we use them specifically because we knew we were going to have to go in the shed in a situation where um, we had a really, really tight window. I mean, I think we were there for like 2 hours, right? To get all this B-roll, to shoot all these marine animals. And also it's like after the shed is closed, so you can't really disturb the animals by, I mean, first of all, like trying to light glass, that's just seems impossible, right? So the lighting was going to be a thing, so we went with no lights. So we're running around with these Sonys, trying to get as much B-roll as possible. Made a mistake using autofocus when we're trying to capture these animals, because these guys had to go so quick just to get all
Yeah.
the random B-roll shots. And that was a huge problem in editing, let me tell you. The autofocus is the bane of my existence right now. I will never, um, if I'm directing it, like, you're never using autofocus ever. Uh, I get why they did it, like the way it was a conscious choice, but it just didn't work out in the editing room for us in the end. So it was that was difficult. The process of, like, also, like, we had all this B-roll that we wanted to string together of all their other experiences, right? That we didn't go along with, because this was a 1 day shoot for us. Um, and we were also like, we Jahmal had a scheduling conflict, so he was actually supposed to come to this exploration, which he doesn't always do. But so also there was like tying in kind of Jahmal, um, him talking to all this B-roll. So that was kind of a daunting experience for us as well. That it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So we got really lucky that they actually have filmed these experiences on the My Black side. So they gave us some of their footage to tie in there, and I think it made for like a much more robust film than um, just staying at the shed.
And
Hmm.
we we also have one of the best editing teams on the planet with Hernan and Pangea at down in Ecuador. So him and his team, the guys that did Your Everyday Heroes of Costa Rica,
Yeah,
they
I
came.
interviewed them, right? So those
Yeah,
guys, yeah, yeah.
Hernan and Pangea came in and helped Gina and I
Okay.
edit this whole thing together. So him and his team did a fantastic job in it, and we list him in the credits as the editor, but he did a lot more than just edit. He helped guide us, and Gina and him did a great job working together on this. So it
Yeah,
was
I
really
loved working with
cool.
Hernan. Like, he's just really uh I gave him a vision, and when he was coming back with cuts, like, they were so amazing, and like, just working, like, it's really interesting working kind of like real time with somebody in another country.
Mhm.
Um like, thank God for technology, but like, just to sit together and like be able to do edits live was um it's so, like, I don't know, we're just blessed with technology, because it, like, literally somebody's on the other side of the world and we're working together on this film.
Yeah,
And it was
100%.
amazing.
Well, that's what you guys are doing with all these films, right? So in so many
Yeah.
ways.
So we were able to take the film that Gina shot in Chicago, give it to our editors in Ecuador that also shoot hero films with us. They spun it together with Gina's direction and created my Block My Hero. And it was I mean, it took a little bit of time, but it was also well worth it because this came out to be amazing. Like, as soon as I started watching it, and even on cut like 4 or 5, I was like, this is awesome. Like, just to be able to tell this guy's story in a compact way and to show off all these kids and all their explorations and to just get through the story. Like, I wasn't ever bored, right? Like, I didn't sit there and, like, I wanted more at the end of it. I was like,
Yeah.
I could have sat there and just like when in Alex's piece, right? It's just a sitting down talking one, and I was like, that was 20 minutes. Like, I thought I could sit there and listen to him talk for another hour without like feeling it. Same thing with Jamal,
Yeah.
right? Like, I wanted more after it was done. I
Well,
was like, where can I go to see this guy in action?
in the way you kind of put the film together, it was very smart because you had Jamal kind of the main character in the beginning, and you focused on him, and then you kind of segued off from Jamal, and the main character was the community, was the organization, and you kind of showed the organization. So Jahmal gave us context, and then you kind of showed us the rest in the rest of the movie. So yeah, it's really great.
I mean, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it was
Yeah,
effective. We worked a lot. Well, this is many hours,
I'm
months
sure.
and of work, obviously. And it was different because it wasn't intended to be shot, or it wasn't intended to be turned into like 24 minutes, right? So, um, that was it was a different. This is supposed to be a 10-minute piece, so like we had a really we just had so much film that it was like not even. I could have had a really tight 10-minute piece, but it was like let's just blow it out into to three 10 minute,
Yeah.
three parts, right? And then and really the documentary came after that. So it was different. It was definitely a different experience than probably planning for to do a longer short.
All right. So Gina, what are you directing another film soon?
Right now, honestly, it's we've got so much in the can that it's about rolling out season 3 of Heroes and really marketing that and getting people on our website. And
Yeah.
that we're and I need that to happen so I can get more funds because I want to go back to shoot another follow up on Jamal, and also I want to go to the Shed and really like shoot some of their you know staffers behind the scenes because they do like this amazing work that I really just it's an aquarium, right? And so you think like they're just focused on the aquarium, but there's so much they're doing behind the scenes that it's actually for like the world on a wider level, and so many research projects they have that I want to go back there and shoot them as well. um in addition to the many heroes that we're just constantly gathering, we were thinking about maybe doing a block of first responder pieces, because like who's the ultimate like public servant heroes, right? It's like your first responders. um and so maybe we'll do that next.
Well, great. And so you guys said you're doing season three right now. How many episodes in season three?
I just counted.
uh
14, 15.
Wow. Okay.
And we've been talking about this a lot, right? Season three has a lot of good stories in it. We go all over the place to California, down to Ecuador, Peru. Last time we spoke, I told you about Vanessa. We still haven't released her piece yet, because we're waiting for that right moment, and that moment is coming up pretty quickly. So we're at the beginning of season three, where I think we're like 3 stories in. Jane's piece is live, but Gina also mentioned getting people to our website to like to view them. We
Yep.
also released our Roku channel. So our Roku channel has all of our stories on it right now, or most of them. And we are building that channel out as best we can. So we're putting up all of our content on it, and it's it looks amazing.
the,
I haven't been able to I haven't been able to market it as correctly as I'd like to. But the Roku channel looks and feels great, and
Yep.
it's kind of like a mirror of our site, but it's just full content and no real like blog posts. It's just video content, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot crisper and more
the
easy
Roku
to
is
view.
the Roku is like what we're doing with my block in particular, my block, my hero. Um, like this is going to be a 6-month process of like releasing all the marketing material and the parts, and finally getting to um this 24-minute feature documentary, which is going to be the last thing released. However, our Roku channel is where it's all going to live. Where if you want to go see Jahmal Cole and you want to binge, like that's what we set that up for. If you want to binge all our content, it's
Yep.
going to all be available on the Roku channel to do that. So that's what I love about that. Like it's really the place where our mini Netflix.
That's what it's about. Well, I told Albert before, I'll say it to you. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's amazing. It's a great idea. It's a great concept. And we get all kind of caught up in the minutia of like we were joking before, not even joking, but talking before about politics between Canada and the United States, all this macro stuff. And it's like, this is what people need to be watching. Like these individual stories. They don't care about geopolitics and all that stuff. They just want to do good, for their community. They just want to feel like they're doing something to help the world make a better place. Not to sound corny, but that's what they want to do, and that's what you see in your films. Even the filmmakers that I talk to, Gina included, like you guys just want to do good stuff, and it's like, and that's what we need to be focusing on. And I wish you guys the ultimate best of success with your channel, with your site. You know that we're always here for you guys because I think what you guys do is really incredible.
And I think you can tell how much I enjoy working with you when I showcase all of your trophies that we get every single
Yeah.
time. So
And we
I
showed your film at our festival in Toronto, the
yeah,
Costa Rica,
yeah.
and
And
people loved it. They
and
really
that's the top one. So that's the one all the way up there. So
yeah
we love working with the Feedback Festival and
yeah.
Wild Sound to begin with. So we'll keep submitting our stuff to you.
And like I said, we'll always be here. So basically, Chicago later on this year. Let's get the Canadian-U.S. relations all figured out, and we'll showcase your film in Chicago. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys all in person, if I can.
You as well,
That'd be
Matthew.
amazing.
All right, talk soon, guys.
All right.
Thanks
Take
so much.